Chapter 9. Lost. I was thinking about Cosmo when I flipped open my lunchbox. Claire leaned over. "What you got?" she asked. I shook my head. "Nothing," I said. I'd never had nothing in my lunchbox before. "Your parents didn't give you anything to eat?" Claire said. "Whoa. My parents would never do that." "My parents would never do it either," I said. "At least not on purpose. My dad must have thought my mom made my lunch, and my mom must have thought my dad did. Do you have anything you can trade?" "Sure," she said. "Really?" "JK." JK means just kidding. A few of the other kids at the table started laughing. Eleanor gave Claire a high five. "I only trade when the other person has something good," Claire said. "And you don't have anything at all." She was right. My stomach growled. I was hungry, and I knew I'd only get hungrier and hungrier until it was time to go home. "You can have half my sandwich," Benny said. "Wow, thanks," I said. "Here, have a Twizzler too. I'll pay you back in Oreos tomorrow," I told him. "When my mom packs lunch, she gives me 2, but sometimes my dad gives me 3, and I'll give them all to you." "That's okay," he said. "You don't have to." By the time we finished eating, it had started to rain, so we had indoor recess. A lot of kids don't like indoor recess, but I think it's pretty fun. You get the choice of playing board games, doing art projects, or just talking to your friends. I always pick art. Even though school doesn't have any slime-making projects, I can draw things to sculpt into slime when I get home. Except today I was being punished, so I wouldn't be allowed to make slime for sculpting. Besides, I was worried about the slime I'd already made. Poor little Cosmo was all alone in Miss Serrato's classroom. I had to go check on him. I couldn't wait until the end of recess. There was a problem. Actually, 2 problems. 1, Mr. Barry. 2, Mrs. Fisher. Mr. Barry and Mrs. Fisher are the lunch aides. When we have indoor recess, they stand by the big doors at the end of the lunchroom like they're the guards of us. You can't get out without going past them, and they only let you past if you need to go to the bathroom or if you're hurt or sick and need to go to the nurse. I didn't want to lie, but I also didn't want Cosmo to be alone. "Excuse me," I said to Mrs. Fisher. "Can I go to the bathroom?"
"May you?"
she said. "What?"
"I'm certain you can go to the bathroom," Mrs. Fisher said. "But you're asking permission about whether you may go, right?"
"Right."
"Yes, you may. Just as soon as one of your friends comes back with the pass."
"Oh," I said. "Okay." I stood there, waiting. It took a long time. Finally, Claire pushed open the door. She handed the pass back to Mrs. Fisher. "I couldn't get the sink to turn off," Claire said.
"Is the water leaking onto the floor?"
Mr. Barry asked. "Not yet," Claire said. "I put some paper towels on the floor just in case. Don't you think that makes me a good citizen?"
"Certainly,"
Mr. Barry said. Our principal, Mr. Goldblatt, started a Good Citizen program in our school. If you do good citizen things, you might get picked to do the morning announcements on the loudspeaker. "Will you tell Mr. Goldblatt?" Claire asked.
Sure,"
Mr. Barry said. "Excuse me," I said. "Can I have the bathroom pass now?"
"You don't need it,"
Mrs. Fisher said.
"I'm coming with you."
Uh-oh. If Mrs. Fisher came with me, I wouldn't be able to skip going to the bathroom and really go back to my classroom. "I can go by myself," I said.
"I'm sure you can," she said. "But I need to check out that sink. Let's go, shall we?"
We walked down the hall to the bathroom. I went into one of the stalls and pretended to go while Mrs. Fisher fixed the sink. I counted to 20. Then I flushed. When I came out, Mrs. Fisher was standing there. She waited for me to wash my hands, in case I couldn't turn the faucet off. But I could. It wasn't a problem at all. It was like Claire made it all up. The rest of recess passed by super slowly. Finally, the bell rang. I was the first to line up to go back to class. I walked so quickly down the hallway that Miss Serrato had to tell me to slow down. We got back to the classroom, and I speed walked to my cubby in the back. Something was wrong. I could tell right away. I'd only left my backpack open this much. Now, it was open all the way. My heart was suddenly pounding. My hands felt sticky. I was afraid to look inside my backpack. And when I did, Cosmo was gone. Ah! I cried out. Miss Serrato ran to me.
Piper, what happened? Are you sick? Are you hurt?
I shook my head. For a couple of seconds, I couldn't even find the words to tell her. I just pointed at my backpack. What? She asked. My very important thing is missing, I cried.
Where do you think Cosmo went?